Hey, this is Old Guy Tech TV. I'm Rob Charney with Opinion versus Opinion for May 14, 2014. It's a sunny, warm 98 degrees here in downtown Diamond Springs. And I just want to thank everybody for watching. On the right, I have Jonathan Charney. And in further right, we have John Manajastic in the little box.
You mean geographically speaking?
Yeah, geographically speaking, no. He's in the left. With all that saying, I want to say thank you for very much for watching Opinion versus Opinion and tuning in. And hopefully you're watching this live. We can take all of your calls if you wish to call in with anything. I don't care what it is, 621-1210. And for those of you around the world, 530-621-1210 will get you to us. And we look forward to your calls. And, of course, I can't leave out, hit the donation button. We need to keep this going. Please, please, please. So, with that said, we've done our begging. We talked about our temperature. We mentioned the day. We said who we are. Who wants to go with the first story of the day? Jonathan. Jonathan wants to go.
It's not hot in Northridge.
Oh, no. Yeah, right. Okay, Jonathan, what you got for us?
Okay, here's the headline, and this is from thetelegraph.co.uk. Was Russia to ban the United States from using the space station over the Ukraine sanctions? And in the beginning of the article, it says Russia is to deny the U.S. future use of the International Space Station beyond 2020 and will also bar its rocket engines from launching U.S. military satellites as it hits back at the United States sanction imposed over Ukraine. And here...
And who's to blame them?
Well, here's the most interesting thing. I found this thing on one of my favorite websites, and here's allegedly the breakdown of who pays for the space station. The cost of the International Space Station is funded by United States, 81%, Russia, 8%, Europe, 3%, Japan, 3%, and the poor Canadians, also known as America's Hat, is the 1%. So the thing that we mostly pay for, we're going to be stopped with because we don't have any way to get there.
We probably have ways to get there, but not manned at the moment. I have the feeling that somewhere in that agreement that we signed with them, knowing I don't think that we ever trust the Russians. We've been through a lot with them. Something says to me that they can threaten to do that, but there's a self-destruct, Putin will blow up on TV clause or something. If he tried to really enforce that, I don't know.
It would be interesting, wouldn't it?
We don't need his rocket engines. We definitely don't have a manned craft at the moment.
We're working madly on our new Apollo, which they're calling the Orion?
Yeah. Well, the interesting part was Moscow's response would affect the NK-33 and the RD-180 engines, which Russia supplies to the U.S. They're ready to deliver. The RD-180 engines are used to boost the Atlas V rockets manufactured by United Launch Alliance, a partner with Lockheed Martin. So it's who holds a virtual monopoly on the U.S. launching. So it seems like we need them.
But we got Dragon X out there sending out capsules with food and stuff.
That was the greatest comment I read, as somebody said, "Damn, looks like they're going to be making a lot more money."
Yeah, and then you got Virgin Airlines. They're out there trying to catch up, and Branson's doing it.
As we've done with, we had to wait a while for Russia, but we're by letting them build the engines. Like, we're not capable of building the engines. We built them for 25 years.
Yeah,
they send Atlas rockets into space. So we made some agreement to outsource to pay them for the engines. Now they're saying they won't build them. The net effect is Russia needs money.
Yeah, well, it says they already have them ready, but they're not going to deliver them. Here's the other interesting part that I didn't know about. Said Russia will also suspend the operation of 11 GPS sites on its territory from June and seek to talks with Washington opening similar sites in the United States. So it seems like they're doing as much as they can to go, oh, yeah?
They are, but, at the beginning of this thing, who started it, right?
Yeah.
Winter Olympics, okay, and we're going to take over the Ukraine. It was nice. They had nice suits at the Olympics. We don't like them. What did happen, though, last week, and what this is in a reaction to, is all of a sudden Putin said, "Mox nix, man. I'm moving the troops. We're out of here."
Yep.
And that's because they squeezed his banking buddies really hard. And so you don't hear about 50,000 troops poised on the border of the Ukraine anymore. So it's become a game of who blinked.
Yeah. Well, my understanding
right now,
is
the Russians are wearing the blink. So they're going to come back with, well, and we're not going to get you to the space station. But they're 8% of it. That's about all their economy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the truth of the matter is, I will be interested to see what's going on in 2020.
They still hold us by the oranges because we don't actually have any way to get people there. So they could say any Americans there are staying up there and none are getting up there. They potentially...
No, because after a certain time, it needs to be resupplied. Now, that's the issue. They have robot
yeah, and so do we
to resupply,
and we do too now.
You know, so we could see, you know, if they really screw with us, we could see, you know, how well people are going to live on the way to Mars for 5 or 6 years.
Well,
that won't be the situation. I am sure that Rockwell or someone that General Electric or whoever built the engines initially, without too much, could probably whip up a couple.
I have a feeling they're talking to Jeff Bezos, who grabbed a couple of those Apollo era engines and going, "Mr. Bezos, could we borrow those for a couple hours?"
Dude, you know, they'll fall down. We'll pick them up in the ocean. We'll bring them back.
Yeah.
Recharge them
No
for
big
them
deal.
and everything.
Well, first of all, it has always irked me since they first announced the fact that they were going to stop the shuttle program, and we did not have another program ready to go. As John will contest the fact that we have always had another program ready to go. When we started with Mercury, there was Apollo.
No, but that was a Bush era, right? That was a Bush era thing. No, was that like a president thing? Was it a Congress thing? What stopped that?
Stop the...
Well, basically said
The shuttle?
Yeah, said we're just going to close the shuttle and we're not going to be ready.
It was
in 2020.
started under Bush, and it was Bush's...
And it ended under Bush,
and
or at the end of Clinton, beginning of W, one of the two.
Yeah, and it's just it pissed me off from the minute they talked about that, because it's kind of like in this day and age our country's saying, what, we don't have a way to get to our own damn space station, and we're getting rid of the shuttles because they cost too much. And
well, was it the cost or the safety? Because I remember hearing everybody
both.
said they're not safe.
It's both. You know what? That was definitely a Roman candle going up. They never knew if it was going to make it up there or get back.
It's because everybody retired.
We did a very unusual thing. I mean, you know, once we had the Challenger disaster and we rebuilt a new one.
Yeah.
We kind of did something that we don't usually do, though it wasn't static. We built something and we did not advance the surrounding technology around it.
Right.
We got to the point where it's the space shuttle. You put it on the thing. Everybody watches on TV.
Well, we got very complacent with it, because for a while there was a period of time of a number of years where there were no problems. They were going off. They were doing what they were supposed to do. And then we would have these disasters, you know, like we had the McAuliffe disaster, right? The first teacher in space.
Right.
It blew up. Okay, now we got to redesign the engines, like you mentioned. So the engines are redesigned. So, you know, everything is going along fine. They're shuttling again, and boom, all of a sudden now you have debris falling off the shuttle that they didn't know about, breaks a tile. The thing tries to get back into Earth and burns up. So, I mean, it was a very dangerous spacecraft, but it made hundreds of flights.
Well, here's a little talking about it. I did a quick Google search, and here's what I found. It says, fast facts. The Xbox 360, which is last generation's video game console, had more power than the flight computer on the space shuttle.
Oh, yeah.
Or
you got to remember how old the space shuttle is.
So basically, John's right. Apparently they didn't upgrade anything.
It was a program that was designed to end. But as your dad
Right.
said, as Rob said, we used to have another one sitting there waiting to begin. We had another space goal that we would, when Kennedy said we'll put a man on the moon by the end of the decade, and we landed one in July of, was it June or July of '69? I think it was July of '69.
Right.
Unless that really was Universal Studios. And that was huge because we got beat. Sputnik went into space
Oh
first.
yeah. Oh yeah.
They put a satellite, an Earth orbiting satellite, up before we did.
And pissed
It was
all the
not
American-
much.
And pissed all the
they
Americans
did
off
it.
by hearing. "Beep."
Well, yeah, you could hear it if you were a ham radio operator. You could listen to it as it went over your area. It was
So
sending out its beeps.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And this is kind of, well, you know the way government does. They always want to make something last 30 years longer than it should. Roads, computer programs. They're still using
Dams.
cobalt. So do you think the space shuttle was kind of lost in the mix? That it was designed to work a certain period of time, then redo it, or was this supposed to
from
be
what
the
I
end all to be
understand,
all?
from what I understand is Bush and his administration kept cutting and cutting and cutting NASA.
NASA. And
Yeah.
so did Reagan.
And so did Reagan and Clinton. I mean, through the whole thing, they kept cutting the budget, and so they didn't have the money to do the R&D that they needed to do. They didn't have the brightest and the best anymore because they were being hired by the private industry.
So was the space shuttle only supposed to last, say, to the
This is a
90s?
20-year program.
Oh, okay. So it was 20 years. Then they were going to have the next thing. Then okay.
Right, right.
So
That's
the next,
exactly right.
The next shuttle, because I
And
remember.
we nearly defunded NASA a couple of times. They didn't have a lot of money.
Nope.
And where the problem is when you take something like a NASA out of the mix is it drives technology. All these different things that we had no, miniaturization, all these things that went into space.
Yeah, ended up
exploration.
in our kitchens, in our front rooms, in our all this stuff.
Well, here's a
Right.
quick tidbit you want to
And,
talk
and,
about.
and, and it's that argument I make that we don't build. I mean, just like you said, we need to buy Atlas engines from Russia.
Yeah.
We used to build Atlas rockets,
They were a dime a dozen. We made them all the time. What do you got, John?
So I was trying to figure out what the actual computing power. And here's a comment on one of my favorite websites, and it was
So
talking
Commodore
about.
64.
It said the first space shuttle had 1 kilobyte of RAM, and 12 kilobytes of ROM, depending on how fast it ran. This seems to about the same as the Sinclair ZX81.
Oh, it's even worse. It was a Sinclair.
Well, no, that's the same power as a
Yeah, yeah,
Sinclair.
yeah. No, I know. That was like,
Which came out 12 years later.
yeah, it's unbelievable.
But-
It was amazing what we were able to do. If you look
Hey.
at the whole Apollo program, I mean, these guys did everything with slide rules and
the computer was a-
paper drawing.
the
And
computer was
And you
built.
go back to Kelly Johnson and the Skunk Works and the SR-71 and the U-2, and that was slide rules and pocket protectors.
Exactly.
These were guys that had American know-how. They had total confidence, can do. Okay, you need to make one of those, we'll make one of those.
And an unlimited budget helps.
But like in the case of the U-2, and I think I've told this story once before, on a test flight out in out in the desert in Kern County, it was porpoising, right? So Kelly looked at it, walked around, literally told the guy, "Go get the torch, cut 2 feet off the back."
that's the way it was done.
It didn't porpoise anymore,
Yeah.
It was
right? But that's how you did things. It's kind of like here you like this thing, right? It's kind of like cars today. You own all the way up to a medium weight diesel. I mean, do you pop the hood and change the plugs?
No. It's a
You
diesel.
pop the hood and go, "Hey, dude with the computer, plug this thing in. Tell me what's going on."
Well, first thing you have to do is
true.
remove 20 feet of plastic so you can get at the plugs.
Well,
And that takes
there's some
half-
truth to that.
And that takes half an hour because you got to find all the parts to do
I can tell
it.
you on my 1999 Ford Expedition that we still are driving. We love it dearly, but it's at 100,000 miles. My mechanic said, "It's time to change the plugs. We have to lift the engine up."
It's like changing the
Okay.
oil in a 1960 Mach 1.
Okay.
It's like what is that? 468 cubic 460 in the expedition.
It's a 5.4.
5.4
Yeah.
liter.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it's only a 300 cubic inch. It's only a 5.4 is like a 325
Yeah.
diesel. Yes.
Gas.
Gas.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm wondering where they came up with that motor, because you have the 5 liter, which is the 300 cubic inch engine.
The 302.
Yeah, but a 3 point.
Yeah. 5.4. And it actually, that was,
Oh, 5.
Five.
Sorry.
yeah,
Okay,
5.4.
that is 460 cubic inches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was
Because,
it was in for 10, almost 10 years. That engine was in production for Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you have to lift it up to get to the plugs on
Yes.
the bottom. You had to do it with the 1970s and early 80s Corvettes as well.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
the big block.
And change the oil on the Mach 1, they had to lift up the engine to get to the drain plug because it sat on a cross member. So
Right.
Ford has a history of pissing customers off.
No. I'm like in the Corvette, that Chevy. I can tell you Mopar stories that would just go,
Oh, yeah.
what?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because they just kind of do things. They're practical. I mean, and they still to this day. And I don't know how much Fiat really has anything to do with their production. They're just using their agencies and flooding the market with these. I could just see the lawsuits down the road with these Fiats.
Aren't they
Fiat-
just that's supposedly their answer to the Mini
Is that the
Cooper?
Fiat 500?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, the thing of it is, their answer to the Mini Cooper is much more a Mini
Yeah.
than what BMW markets as a Mini.
Right. Well, actually, I've driven the Mini Cooper, and it's
Well,
got
here-
plenty of room, and it's got plenty of pep.
You want to talk
You're
about
talking about an original, because I had an
Yeah.
850 and a 1075.
Huh?
And the amazing thing about a Mini Cooper was it was this little tiny box that when you open up the doors was like a clown car.
It was.
You
It
wanna
was
talk-
all kinds of. It was just a box. That was all you got, and it also had a center of gravity that was somewhere near 4 feet below the pavement. So if you didn't mind throwing your passengers around, you could pull a U at 60.
It wasn't much in
But
suspension,
there was,
that's for sure.
do you ever-
But
No. The Mini Cooper S I had, man. I sit in my mind and debate over my 914 or my Mini Cooper S as to which one handled better.
yeah,
Well, there was a movie
Stunning.
that came out within a decade ago, the New Italian Job with Marky Mark.
yeah.
There's I forgot her name. I can never remember. The woman in that movie, she's like 6 foot, and she drove an original Mini Cooper. They actually had to modify it to get her in there because she couldn't physically feed it.
Depending on
Fit.
which model, right?
She
Yeah.
would have a very difficult time fitting in a Thunderbird or a Corvette at 6 feet.
Charlie
In
Theron.
particular, 55, 56, 57
Oh, yeah.
Thunderbird.
Charlie
5'9", 5'10". That was about it.
I tried getting
That
in
was
one of
the
them.
app-
I can't.
that was-
The
Go
seat,
ahead.
the steering wheel is literally in my lap, rubbing it against my stomach on
Yeah.
the Corvette.
Because there's Charlie Theron is the woman I'm talking about, and she fits perfectly fine in the new Mini.
Right. The new Minis have huge amount of room.
'Cause
I
they're
mean,
not
they're
mini,
they're
they're
well
huge.
made actually.
And the Countryman isn't even a Mini.
Yeah, it's huge.
This thing
Four
is
door.
it's a vehicle.
Yeah.
So I mean, be that as it may, I've had some fun experiences at the wheel of a Mini Cooper, a real one, and I've not driven a new one.
You
I've blown
ought to just for fun. They actually drive very well.
The question is
I've
how many
blown the
legally can you
doors off
sell?
a couple with the Volkswagen, but of course not with an S. The S at one point was like the quickest production car on the road. It was like 5'9" or 6'1" to 60.
So how
You know,
how
and
how
could just go by.
how easy was it to get at the engine? Because the reason why I ask is, I drive an Acura and you can't get at the engine. My friend, however, at one point in time drove like a '90 Honda hatchback DX, and you could practically get in the thing, shut the hood, and still work on the car.
Oh, dude, on a Mini Cooper, you lift up the rather small bonnet. It's not a hood, mate. It's a bonnet. And under the bonnet it's a front-wheel drive car. So there's this drive axle with this 850cc motor.
Yeah.
I mean, like nothing.
Yeah.
Even the 1075 ain't no big. And it kind of looks like a sewing machine motor on top of a transaxle. That's what it looks like. and shit, you can do things to it for days. You get, access in cars from the 50s and the 60s to the engine.
Yeah.
Come on, mate. That was part of the deal. You threw the engine. With the dealership, when you went to buy the Impala, man, they popped the hood on that bad boy and said, "Look at that."
Yeah.
This is a small family of 6 living in the front before the radiator.
Oh, a huge amount of space.
My dad came home with a '62 Ford Galaxy 500.
Oh, don't you wish you still had that?
Which you could get with a 351, a 352, a 390, a 406.
And straight pipes.
In 1962. And his had the 406 in it. My brother and I my brother was just old enough that we could get the Galaxy and go out there.
It's funny. Jay Leno has a story like that. It's just when his dad bought a car, he let Jay Leno fill out the order form.
Right.
So Jay Leno got the high-end engine, like straight pipes, and so his dad got in there, started up, and went, it's like, what the hell is this? This is, and
it's a car.
It's a car.
And apparently,
it's the real thing.
At some point in time, was looking for something in his dad's house, in his parents' room, and found a bunch of speeding tickets.
and our good friends at Fast and Loud, Richard and those boys down in Texas, they went, and you can now buy a Copo Chevy. There were Camaros, and there were Camaros, there were Malibus from different dealerships. Mm-hmm. But a Copo was a code.
Right. You went
your
to
car
the factory.
Was put in with, which brought you every factory goodie you could get. Which sometimes meant not much, because in a drag car that you ordered in the 60s, it didn't even have a heater. You could order it sans everything. Mm-hmm. And aluminum bumpers and it was a drag car with a 427 Ford in it, or a 426 Chevy in it,
the gas monkey,
or a 426 Hemi, or a 392 Hemi.
The Copo, for people out who don't know, it stands for it's a Central Office Production Order.
Right.
Is what it was, and it's actually direct from the factory, and it was really rare. Apparently, only certain people, or if you could actually get
you could get them. They sold that Copo stickers itself. I was watching a Gas Monkey Garage.
Yeah,
he paid $10,000 for the Copo.
Well, that was just the ability to buy it.
Yeah,
it's a $100,000 car.
I know.
He bought a dozen of those.
Yeah.
After that project,
yeah.
So
more opened up.
Smoking garage and get your Copo.
Yeah.
Any way you want it.
Yep. It also helps that Richard Rellings is actually a multi-millionaire financially.
Yeah. He's doing okay.
Good for him. I mean, he's funny and he does. I kind of like that show.
I initially did not like that show, and I do now like that show.
Well, there's a few things
I was with you in the beginning too. It took me a little bit to warm up to him, but then I got it. I
love losing money, and I'm going, you can't flip cars if you don't make money.
That's right.
I love the show. There are a few things he does restoring cars that give me the shakes. Like he'll call it restoration when there's still rust on the frame, and it's just like.
He's got a number of different levels the way they do the projects, and he makes the decision if you're going to leave the body alone, the body's left alone. But he'll tear up that engine and the frame and everything.
He will do the full resto, but he's kind of famous for his rat rods.
Right.
Yes, it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's actually one on Velocity, and I forget what it's called. And this guy's down on Venice Boulevard.
Oh, really?
And he goes around Venice and finds, that 55 that's sitting behind the old apartment building, and interesting. I love those shows, and one of the reasons we started talking about this, folks, is in my other life, I am a motorsports announcer.
That's right.
And this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, is Eagle Field. Now, I started doing Eagle Field 5 years ago, coming up on 6.
Wait, so are you the guy who goes Sunday, Sunday, Sunday? You're like one of those guys?
I only do that because you guys want us to do that. I know I was very good friends with Steve Evans, who started those radio commercials for both Lions and Orange County International Raceway. It was Sunday at Eagle Field, right? Actually, Sunday at Eagle Field, 1966 head-to-head gasser shootout on the 8th mile.
Doesn't that sound cool? That's cool.
I do, and I don't sound like that during the day. I try not to, because by the end of 2 days, I'm going to sound a lot like Wolfman Jack. But you are going to see cars here. We do have gassers coming down from Oregon, and we're starting a new series called True Gas, which will. But more importantly, on Saturday, it's a flag start, and we call it True Nostalgia. And there are people that say, but this is for the guy that probably isn't your NHRA member.
Probably not.
He's got a rat rod. He's got, a rat rod, meaning a rusty old chopped V8 powered pipes put someplace strange with white walled tires on it.
He had fun building the damn thing, and he just wants to take it out the track and see it run.
So why don't you tell everybody the URL if they want to check out the website?
If you want information, if you want to come to Eagle Field, because it's really reasonable. I mean, you race your car for $40 a day, and you get overnight camping, and we're going to have a party in the hangar and food and the band, and it's going to be a good time. The URL is eaglefield.com, and that's spelled just like eaglefield.com.
So I'm on, is it eaglefielddrags.com?
Eaglefielddrags.com. I am sorry. Eaglefielddrags.com.
I got it right there.
I'm on it right now. That True Gas actually looks pretty fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the specs
right
right
looks
now.
like a gas, man.
Yeah. Folks, these are the 60s gassers, which means they put a solid axle across the front, loaded all the weight onto the back wheels, cut the bodies up, stuff pipes out of them. I mean, they're cartoonish in their appearance naturally. And that's on Sunday. On Saturday, we'll have those cars. We're also having one of the greatest fuel altereds of all time, Pure Hell, Rich Guasco's car, and my buddy Stormy Bird in his fuel coupe. And they will be running match races on Nitro. And we also have a gentleman by the name of Jeff Atamian with the Beast jet car.
No, I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
You guys ever get any drag rails out there? Because those are the scariest fun people to watch.
No, they're not the scariest by any stretch of the imagination. And sure, we have lots of them.
They look like it to me because there's about an inch off the ground and the tires look like bicycle tires.
That's only on the very, very front. They got great big slicks on the back. And
yeah.
actually, the promoter of this event, Rocky Phillips, and you can watch us live, or you can watch us archived all weekend long at quartermileproductions.net. We'll be live streaming the entire event. So, if you want to see what I do when I don't do this, and maybe doing when I do this, drop us in on Eagle Field this weekend. I think most importantly, the URL is eagledrags.com, but more importantly, quartermileproductions.net, and you will be able to get audio and video from out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we fight over whether it's Firebaugh or South Dos Palos.
I love the.
I know.
I love.
I had a friend from Fireball.
Preferably nowhere. Yeah. This is as close to nowhere as you can possibly get, and we'll have 2,500 spectators and 500 cars, and it is as close to a rock and roll happening of the 60s as you're going to get.
I love on the True Gas participation. I love I love some of the comments on it. Like no nitrous. Stock frames.
Right.
This is hilarious. It looks like fun.
It's way fun. Watch over that weekend. It won't take long. We do it all day long. We start racing at noon, and we'll race till the sun goes down or the beast goes down the track with the jet flame at the very end. And at the end of Saturday, I'll probably say Sunday. We're going to come back and run True Gas and a True Gas shootout and a door slammer, and we're actually going to have a Christmas tree.
Oh, really? Okay.
Saturday is going to be flag start, and there's video at the website when you. And
is there going to be a girl with a bikini top dropping the flag?
Probably not.
Oh,
But there will be
Sexist.
girls with the heat. This that we're
yeah. Yeah.
don't be
I mean, that's
bikinis
what you
stuff.
want, right? If it's going to be a flag drop, you want the
Hey,
girl in
hey,
bikini.
hey. Well, it's a race.
No,
You know, so you don't want to have.
All right.
You want to be distracted,
Yeah. Sure.
and that stuff distracts me.
Well, that
I
sounds
guess
like
we're-
fun, John. That sounds a good time.
It's and that'll be this weekend. And join us at EagleFieldDrags.com or at CornerMallProductions.net.
Yay.
You have a good time. I will, and I say things I don't say here. To put it mildly, I
He
actually
starts having flashbacks, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not
This
talking
is-
about from battle.
This is out in agricultural California, but as aggy as you can get.
Yeah.
And on the Lions race on Saturday with the tree, I had the promoter come up to me and go, "Did you say that a guy in a '68 Camaro was a loser?" And I said, "It was a drag race." I said, "Half these guys were losers." Well, his son was really upset that you called him and I said, I don't want to say anything one way or the other. I just suggest if they can't handle being called a loser, they probably shouldn't drag race.
Wait, did the guy lose the
It
race?
happens more often than not.
Wait,
Huh?
so did the guy lose the race and he was upset that he was called a loser?
His son was upset that I called his dad a loser.
Oh, I was gonna say if you lose the race, technically you lost.
Technically,
You're a loser.
You lost.
You lost, dude.
Next,
Stop being a stop.
and help your buddy that's still in. Come on.
Stop being a schlemiel.
Sorry.
They, could,
Nobody ever remembers number 2.
well, they could stop being a schlemiel and actually try harder next time.
And the runner-up was.
Yeah, exactly. Who? You did
I mean,
what?
does anybody who remember?
You're the only one who can.
Well, does anybody besides John remember who ran against Reagan?
Oh, well, now we're completely switching.
Well,
Are you talking about in the primary or are you talking about in the general?
the general?
Take a guess.
Because our friend Newt Gingrich ran against him in the primary.
Right.
See, I told you John would remember.
All right.
Hey,
Hey, what
this
can you
face, this head, $1.85, cup of coffee at Starbucks.
So now that we're off of the auto sports, which we had a lot of fun discussing, and I would love to continue.
Come with my favorite subject of all time.
Okay.
I love this subject. I do.
Do you?
Oh, great.
Well,
GOP
actually,
is.
what I'm going to put on the audience something that I'm going to put on the screen right now, so they can take a look at just a little bit of what I'm talking about. Hear my voice over to this, and this is a map, by the way, folks, brought to you by a gentleman by the name of Timothy Draper, and Draper has proposed this change in California layout due to what he describes as a state that is ungovernable and in its current state. In its present state, according to the California Taxpayers Association website, California has the highest statewide state sales tax rate in the nation, the second highest gasoline tax in the nation, and the highest personal income tax in the nation. So there's a gentleman here. If you look at that, you'll see there's 6 proposed splits for California. Of course, the state of Jefferson, and if you are a historian at all, you'll understand that that almost came about had it not been for Pearl Harbor. And then there's North California, there's Central California, Silicon Valley, right? Then West California and South California. And that's the way the proposal is for the breakup of the state of California.
I'll mention one other thing to you that is buzzing around this as well. As we all know, we get registration on an annual basis, and we pay that into the state.
Right.
We also pay a gasoline tax.
Absolutely.
And that gasoline tax is levied on every gallon of gasoline. I was not in favor of this when our good friends at Geico said, you can put this little thing in your car and it'll tell us that you're a good driver.
Yeah.
And I said, excuse me, folks, bullshit.
Yeah, big brother.
That will tell you how far I drive my car on a daily basis.
He just doesn't want his
which I
insurance to go
don't
up.
particularly want you to know.
And because the discussion is we're going to change the gas tax to a per mile tax
But they
versus
want
per
to put
gallon.
the device in your car so they can measure the number of miles you drive and charge your road tax, and I don't know that it supersedes the gas tax, but they want to tax you for the amount that you drive, and hell no.
Yeah, I hope you guys out there pay attention, because he's right. Hell no, this is ridiculous.
I'm not putting a device in my car. Okay,
they're going to want you to.
If I'm a drunk driver, I have to put a device in my car that makes me blow a breath at your expense.
Yes, right.
Ignition interlock.
I being a car guy, when you start to enter my personal domain of the automobile, it's like, it's not okay. But the problem was the insurance company started doing it, and it irritated me when Geico was advertising it. Now State Farm's got it.
Right.
They all have this device that'll plug into a prom under your dash and give them all kinds of information I don't want them to have. Now, as to the six-way split, we talked a little bit on the way in. The last time California was going to divide into North and South California with the dividing line, I think, at Fresno, which is far from the halfway point.
Right.
Sacramento is about the physical halfway point. I forget what the little town is. What's its face? Chicken is there. It's just south of Sacramento. Out on the Delta is the midway point in California, north to south. But they were going to split California north to south because Northern California was tired of providing water to Southern California and not really getting paid for it. This was about 1971, 72, I do believe. Now, this one, Rob, he's drawn it up on population.
Right. Right, exactly. He decided this, and folks, this is not taken seriously. This is an exercise that this guy did because he wanted to show
it's on the ballot.
The breakup. It's on the ballot?
I think this is a legit thing he's trying to do.
I thought this was just a study.
I think
he may be getting signatures to put it on the ballot.
Yeah.
It's not a pending proposition.
I didn't think it was.
The primary for us is June the 3rd?
Yeah.
January. General's in November,
July.
November the 8th, something like that.
Yeah, we got the primaries June.
Yeah, because that's what I was trying to say. He's trying to get the
The
signatures.
9th, one or the other.
I do want to say, though, before we go any more, about Timothy C. Draper. He's an American venture capitalist investor, founded Draper Associates in July '85. So he's a tech guy. Is what he is.
So what he talks about is, he talks about the fact that with the passage of Proposition 13, Prop 13 is what we call it, which I personally love. Thank you very much, Howard Jarvis.
In the state, it's got to go. Thank you.
Yep, that's right. It's big time saved us a lot of money. He said that smaller governments in these 6 individual states would be more responsive to the needs of its people compared to the larger single government in Sacramento. He also recognizes the potential for competition amongst the residents of the various states, which could bring about positive change. So
the only dangerous thing I see, at least from the North California side, is all the population sides in the Bay Area where we would be.
It's pretty crazy because now you've got 6 states and 6 governments and 6 governors and 6 houses of legislation, and I just you
have oil production in some states. You have oil processing in other states.
Right.
So you now have interstate commerce, which is allowing the feds to get in on taxation.
Yeah.
Because when it goes across the state, it goes across state lines. And here's the problem with the secessionist idea across the board. And I saw an 8 state. I haven't seen the 6, and I unfortunately can't see it on our monitor. It's just a fact that we have states that pay into government in income taxes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and we have states that take more than they put in. The same problem would exist in California. You would have states that don't have natural advantage competing with states that have all kinds of natural advantage.
Right.
And folks, my dear friends in Bakersfield, if you don't have a good reason to go to Bakersfield, why in the hell would you go there?
That's a good question.
He's native. Oh, what?
Because you're born there. A lot of
If
people
you-
are born there and they stay. They never leave.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, the LA, San Francisco doesn't understand the mentality of someone born in the Central Valley.
Right.
And
So
that goes
Hotel
all the way
California
from
was called
Bakersfield to Sacramento and further.
Right.
I mean, it's a different mentality. So the point of it is, I don't think it would work. It would be interesting where I don't think it, and if all of a sudden, because I saw one map that was drawn along ideological lines, and
Yeah, I know.
No.
Well, I mean, we didn't even get into the points that each state would have what? One senator? And how many congressmen? And I mean, the whole thing never even gets discussed. And it's crazy enough as it is. I'm not sure I'm really for more senators.
well, you have the 1921 reformers that left California with the reform, the referendum, the proposition, and the recall.
Yeah, but
Which we have experienced all three of those wonders of state government
I know.
in our lifetime, and you go,
But
so
one of those
what?
But one of those is
Yeah.
really rare.
well, I mean, and like I said, if folks get out there and read a little bit, it's called The State of Jefferson. Read
switch
about
back.
it a little bit. It's very interesting how close we came to having a 51st state, or
Let's
actually it would have been the 50th
Switch
at
back
the
real
time.
quick and let him
You wanna
see
switch
the
back?
map again.
John wants to see that.
Oh, yeah, so you just let everybody
I
see it one more
can't,
time.
guys, I can't read it.
You can't make it
Well,
out.
it was just for the viewers.
Okay,
to
it's for the
really get
viewers.
another-
That's
You need
the-
your hover device to do.
It is. It's our overhead cam.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, and this is just because I found it fascinating. Read the history of the state of Jefferson, and like I said, had it not been for Pearl Harbor, we would have had the state of Jefferson.
So you sure that the state of Jefferson wouldn't bomb? Wouldn't have bombed?
It was bombed. Yeah. No. It happened to fall. The vote happened to fall on the day Pearl Harbor came, and
The question,
and they
ladies and gentlemen,
I
can you tell
actually
us what day that
need
is?
to, and being such an Earl Warren historian as I am, I've never heard the state of Jefferson.
Oh, you're
and
kidding me.
its interaction with it, and he was state attorney general,
Yeah. You need to read it. It's very fascinating.
or he may have been governor
Right.
because of the internment camps. I know he was governor at that time.
Well, makes sense.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go back and look at my good buddy Earl and see because I mean I've read and I've never ever heard of this state of Jefferson.
Interesting. As a matter of fact, as you go up Highway 5, and you get to the point where they were going to have the border for the start of, because it was part California, part Oregon. Okay, there is a map. If you look up the state of Jefferson, you'll see a map. And as you go up I-5, as you cross the make-believe border, there's a building on the right-hand side that says, "Welcome to the state of Jefferson."
Yeah. I have driven by it.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what that's all about. That was kind of interesting.
Well, I
But
got-
that was seen through the window of a Volkswagen van in the 1970s.
Okay, so
it was a little hazy.
little fuzzy on that
Jeff,
one. Yeah.
Jeff.
Anyway,
So,
I see absolutely nothing. I mean, it's an interesting exercise to do what he did here with all this split, but it's just unworkable. It's impossible.
I just don't want to be in the same state as San Francisco.
Well, but here's part of the deal. It's just like we have a secessionist movement. But where the hell are you going to go?
Yeah.
Right, because the moment you succeed, the United States the government's gonna get your armed forces, and you're gonna be occupied territory.
Exactly. Nobody's bothered to talk about all the rest of everything that comes along with becoming a state.
Well,
Texas wanted to secede from the Union.
Yes,
Then-
that's true. And
And
they're
there are still secessionists. With Rick Perry was leading the charge for secessionism for the state of Texas.
well, Texas was a country.
Since I already pissed people off in Bakersfield, in my opinion, you cut Texas off and set it afloat in the Gulf too.
well,
What the heck?
I found something interesting.
Yes.
Since this will at least kind of affect two of you. Marco Rubio's 5 Ways to Fix Social
Oh,
Security.
Lord.
And yes, that was an age crack. I can't help it.
All right, let's hear his 5 ways.
Well, actually, some of them, you guys have all heard them before, so none of them are really new.
It's a good friend of
is
John's, I'm sure.
Raise the retirement age.
Rubio, yeah.
Yeah, that one's been going around for a long time. They want to go to 70.
Yes, said Congress has only increased Social Security retirement age by 2 years from 65 to 67. Under Rubio's proposal, the retirement age would stay the same for workers over the age of 55, but younger workers propose gradually increasing the retirement age. Doesn't provide details. Reduce reduce benefits for wealthy seniors.
Wealthy seniors.
yeah.
What's a wealthy senior?
Well, what's his name? The Warren.
Buffett?
Yeah, he actually, if you in age, you actually.
He doesn't
qualify.
take it. Yeah, I know he qualifies for it, but he doesn't
So
take it. What's he needed for? He's got a
Yes,
doctor
it-
on staff. He doesn't need.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Buffett probably has how many doctors on retainer?
Yeah, exactly.
eliminate payroll
Warren's
tax.
coming in today.
Yeah.
Eliminate payroll tax for older workers.
I'm sorry, say that one again. We were
Sorry, I
BSing.
can't even hear myself in the headphones. So
Why can't you hear yourself? in the
today,
headphones?
let's see.
I can't hear myself in my headphones, but that's not the way this is meant to be.
Today, all workers and their employers are subject to a 12.4% payroll tax that is used to fund the Social Security system. So he wants it eliminated.
That's
Who
it.
wants-
I thought
Rubio-
you said there were 5.
Well, there's more.
All right.
See, Rubio's proposal limited the tax for any workers who have reached retirement age. A move, he said, would encourage seniors who are able to keep working and help beef up their savings. The next one is nix the earnings test for early claimers.
You mean
The,
the 62ers?
Under the current rules, anyone who claims Social Security before the full retirement age but keeps working is subject to retirement earning test. That reduces benefits significantly for anybody who earns more than $15,000 a year.
I thought that was already in effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Teachers, when you retire as a teacher, you have to take 1 year off before you can teach in the district that you formerly taught. Then you can come back as a substitute teacher, and of course, they get preferred positions, but you'll have them. That's how I got some long-term subs, because this guy couldn't work past the $15,000 income level.
Right.
And the last one is open a government savings plans to private workers. Part of fixing Social Security will rely on helping workers boost their own personal savings, Rubio said. He proposed opening up the government's thrift saving plan, a 401k-ish plan available to federal workers, including members of Congress. So the Social Security was never designed to be the sole source of retirement income. It was designed to serve as a supplement, he said. And this was published the 14th.
If you'd like to develop a savings function in the American public, pay them more than 1% interest on their deposit. It's ludicrous what you're lending it for to what you're paying somebody for their money.
Yeah, but the minute you
on.
raise interest rates on money, you raise mortgage rates as well.
Hey,
And we already kind of still teetering on this.
I understand that, but I don't want, and I know that they are, I do not want unqualified people buying homes before, and that has not changed.
I
And,
think so.
and
I cooked the
that
books on
ought to
that
be
side.
criminal as far as I'm concerned. If you can't
That's what
qualify.
brought us down last time.
Exactly.
Everything was approved.
Exactly.
Well,
Especially where you work, out up in the Sacramento area. Well, look, you got to come with $2,000 down.
Yeah.
And then we'll finance it. I know it says 21%. And we'll never get to 21%. Guess what?
So I can on my personal experience, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a former homeowner. I actually put more than 20% down.
Yeah.
And the bank still refused to help me when I came knocking on the door saying, there's a potential for me to have run into problems. Let's work on a solution. And they told me to pound sand. And the moment I said, okay, I can't make any more payments, they said, well, we can help you now. I said, are you going to make the payments for me? Like, well, what do you mean? It's like, I have no more money.
It's kind of
Bank
like
of
the
America ought
experience
to
that
be broken
you
up.
have-
and stuff.
Okay, I was trying really not to say the Bank of America, but since it's already come out there, Bank of America, you suck. Really heavily.
Oh, and just when you said that, you lost John. He didn't like that.
I hate Bank of America.
I didn't think he had any. He didn't have any Italian in him, as far as I know.
I hate Bank of America with a passion of 1,000 burning suns.
That's right. That's right.
They're a pain in the ass. So would you continue talking where I try to figure this out?
Well, so since we have a little bit of a glitch on our screen, I will say that it still is having a problem. Our stream's going fine. I wonder what's going on. Anyway, so John's idea of raising interest rates on saving accounts is the problem with that is twofold, in that you raise interest rates on savings accounts, you are going to end up raising interest rates on mortgages, and we still need that building to start coming back, but we need people qualified to actually buy these homes, and not, like John mentioned, just somebody with a couple of grand in his pocket has no potential to be able to pay long term.
Well, that was my question. Is before you guys got into heavily, what was in your day a qualification for being a homeowner? Like what was?
Oh
what
my
did
God!
You need?
White.
Okay,
was one for a very long time.
Minus race, I meant financially, because you can't really help.
It was
white
10%. It was
it
was 10% down, minimum, a 10% down. You had to have a steady job history. You had to make enough money. I forgot what the formula on that was. There was formula that you had to make enough money so that the rent, the utilities, and food could be purchased. So you had to make enough money.
25% rule. In other words, your mortgage couldn't be more than 25% of your take-home income.
Right. I thought it was 20, but 25 didn't matter.
I didn't think you could do that now because nobody would be owning homes in California.
Well,
that's just the state of the
but
economy.
that's the way it worked. I mean, until this whole crazy, let's come up with some new schemes to get people in homes, but let's not worry about the fact that they can't qualify. And
not only that, home inspections were, drive-bys.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because everybody was making, the pig was so fat.
I have a personal experience
couldn't
with
help
home
but,
inspections.
Yeah.
Dying on the swine, as they say.
Yeah. No. I mean, I knew a guy that he couldn't work as a mechanic any longer, and he became a home inspection guy. Never drove a nail in his life, had no idea what a truss from a joist, from a hanger, from anything, and he did, most of the time he did his home inspections by using Google Earth.
And got paid.
A
lot of money.
Yeah. So.
I mean, for you, I think a minimum home inspection is like $350, $400.
Yeah, I think or even more. What was your experience?
No,
Jonathan?
they could be very much more.
Yeah.
My experience was the people said they got inspected by a guy
Yeah.
and so we're like, okay, we can trust this guy. We'll leave it at that. And it turned out my previous home had some issues. Let's just put it mildly that there were some things that were fishy in Denmark.
Yeah, let's put it this way. My so-called person that I knew, who was a qualified contractor who did the inspection, screwed up and got paid off by his buddy who owned the condo.
Screwed up? He helped
Ooh, condos, bad things.
Yeah. Anyway.
The condos are like lease cars. And usually people that live in condos lease a car.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a lot of those out there.
So, ladies and gentlemen, from my personal experience, I will say a few things regarding being a homeowner. One is if you do a home inspection, make sure you pick one. Make sure you trust the son of a bitch first. And two, find another bank besides B of A. They'll screw you out of every last cent you have.
Yeah.
At the same time, I do banking business with them only on the most basic of banking business.
Yeah, and I know that...
And they're just fine.
But
after that, I wouldn't want to do business.
I have one more tip.
Wouldn't have a mortgage for them.
One more tip. If you ever, for some reason, decide to be crazy enough to buy a house within a homeowners association, before you spend that $200, $300, $500 million or whatever the house costs, attend a homeowners association, because you'll be dealing with them the rest of the time you own the home, and generally they're fucking nuts. Excuse my language.
That's true. Because they have the time to spend to be your homeowners association.
Like
also, your loan is diminished by the amount of your monthly homeowners dues.
like measuring grass.
Well,
You know,
all of a sudden they become home Nazis.
Sorry about my language, by the way.
No, the way I labeled it, because the first part of our property, we have almost 10 acres here. The first front part of our property is in an association. Not our house, nothing else. This is the front part, which is kind of convenient because I can tell them they'll all go pound stand. But then they become home Nazis, and your house can only be a certain color. Your roof can only be made out of a certain material. Your grass can only be so.
Cut that tree.
Yeah, and you can't cut that tree, or your grass has got to be watered, even if you're in a drought.
I got a perfect story about this. So my friend has a couple of cars, and he has, a minivan that looks good, and a minivan that's it's a little bit of a beater. Right,
Yeah.
so he had his minivan out, parked, and somebody complained that there was an abandoned vehicle that was in his parking spot,
Right.
Or his, whatever by his garage, and I've had stories of people that they're going around measuring the grass. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. So-and-so, your grass is a quarter of an inch too tall.
Yep.
Well, no. I paid for it. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no.
You pay for it and you buy them and you go,
So
these
make
people
sure-
are crazy.
Oh, yeah,
So
some
make
of them
sure-
are nuts.
So honestly, make sure that you can stand the people in the homeowner association. Go to a couple of meetings and really decide, because you're going to go bald, blind, deaf. or
There's one,
nuts
I can
dealing
name
with
one
it.
real quick. In El Dorado Hills, John, you remember,
yes,
the way
I
El
do.
Dorado Hills is in Serrano. Serrano is this big home development area, and they're all like, at
I'm
least.
going to be listening in the other room. I'll be right back.
Okay, at least $700,000 or more in homes, up to $1 million, whatever, and they had a homeowners association there, and then they had one particular home where the homeowner painted it a yellow.
I remember this.
Remember the yellow house?
Yes.
Beautiful job, professional job. The only problem is it was the wrong shade of yellow, and they insisted that these people repaint their house. And they said, hell no, I'm not going to repaint the house. I just painted it. It ended up going all the way to court.
And they were
Okay,
forced to.
they had to go all the way to court to deal with this. And a strange thing happened. The homeowner actually won.
Really?
Yeah, because
thought
the
they were-
judge said it's close enough. I mean, come on, guys. So you're absolutely right, Jonathan. That's what's nice about here. We're not really involved with the homeowners association very much. So.
The homeowners association was probably the wisest thing my real estate agent ever said was, make sure you go to a meeting, because if you don't like these people when you don't own the property,
You'll never.
you're going to hate them with a passion.
She was absolutely right. Fortunately,
And by the way, if you guys are ever in the El Dorado Canyon area and want to know an amazing real estate agent, I will tell you, but not here.
yeah. But yeah, anyway, it's kind of interesting, and I'm sure there's a million stories out there of homeowners associations, and we're really close to wrapping up this show here. We're only a few minutes away, and I'm sorry again that I don't know how many of you are watching us live, and you didn't bother to call in 621-1210. You got 1 minute. If you got a question, shoot it in now. I'd love to hear that phone ring.
And my apologies to the children watching. It kind of came out. My sincere apology. You can tell how passionate I am about this.
Yeah.
So my sincere apology, and since John's not here, I apologize on his behalf.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, we really had an interesting day here discussing many things. And as far as the gentleman Draper goes with
Tim
his
Draper,
state area,
venture
you know what?
capitalist.
Your idea sucks, and I don't want to see it on a proposition. So Draper, go away.
Well, I do have a. Well, I think.
Whew, but things really deteriorated in a couple of
Yeah,
minutes.
they did.
So-
You've really missed a
Yeah,
lot when
I-
you stepped
I
out
think-
there.
Light this thing up, throw it away.
Well,
So
we're
I-
doing the final close-up here.
So I think for next week, the discussion would be if you wanted to split California, how would you do it?
Oh, I already have that answer.
Well, I'm trying to
I
tease
do
people.
it.
Come
I
on.
do it like my grandfather used to cut watermelon. He dropped it,
Perfect. That works
and
perfect.
it tasted
Just the
never
same, huh?
tasted any better.
That's right.
And when he goes, you cut them up, you drop it. It breaks where it want to break, and it tastes great.
I say do it like Arlie Ernie.
Oh, shoot it. That's right. Good old Gunny. Good old Gunny. Yep, he did it. Okay, well, he certainly killed a lot of watermelons on his show, Mail Call, but
Oh gosh, yeah,
Yeah.
that was that
was
was a
good.
targeted choice. And the gun shows, I don't see I don't watch much television now.
yeah.
I don't know if the Colorado gun show is back on.
No,
no,
no.
it's-
The American Guns was basically it was canceled once the whatever incident happened. It basically put them out of.
Yeah, they did some kind of no-no.
Shut down,
And then,
Well, their Sons of Guns is still on somehow.
Right.
yeah, we don't know how.
Because they're kind of sleazy
Well,
from my
because
opinion.
because there ain't a lot of laws in Louisiana, and they can order up them guns down there.
But they've lost their federal firearms licenses, our understanding, and
Yeah.
actually somebody that doesn't own the business actually holds the license. Anyway,
It's a little weird.
It's a little weird.
It's a little fishy. in
But
that.
yeah, the gun shows have kind of gone away. It would be nice to get a good quality show. But
It's-
hey, if you like hunting and bow hunting, there's Ted Nugent's Call of the Wild. You can always watch Teddy. We had a good time with him.
Watch Uncle
Or
Ted.
the American Sportsman back in the day.
That's right. That's right.
Ted was your the first rock and roll hunter,
Or
Yep.
Bassmasters.
and then it became his show.
Yeah.
It was Ted Nugent and the American Sportsman.
Yeah, and now it's Ted Nugent, Call of the Wild, and we did. If you want to go to our site, you'll see an
I know.
interview. You saw an interview that I got to do with Ted, and I love him, and God bless him and everybody else out there. So we are 1 hour into the show. I want to thank all of you out there for watching. If you did or not, I don't know, but hopefully you did. Thank you, John Manichastic. Thank you, Jonathan Charney. This is Rob for Old Guy Tech TV, Opinion versus Opinion. We'll see you next week.